Hello, welcome to Spotlight, beaming artistic goodness island-wide.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, we hear from artist Charlotte Jane Henry about her Manx Sketch Book. Look forward to the visit of Mersey Morris, that's dance, not a classic car. Start to whet your appetite for LitFest 24 and celebrate 124 years of the Gaiety. First off, Charlotte Jane Henry has been active on the Manx art scene for, well, more years than she cares to remember, I expect, and whilst often modestly sailing below the radar, has recently brought out a little gem in her latest publication, the Manx Sketch Book Volume 1. She dropped by with a signed copy, thank you kindly, to tell me more about it, and I began by asking a little about the concept behind the work.
Well, ever since I was 8 and couldn't afford a camera and loved writing and sketching, I carry around with me a sketchbook and a pencil and paper, something to write on. There's one in my bag right now. And I come across a scene that I absolutely love and catches my attention. And I just sketch it and write about it on the spot. It takes a bit of fine-tuning to make it more poetic, perhaps. And I have a little iPhone which I can take photos with as well as a backup. But generally, I sort of work on the spot when something grabs my attention. We done at Fleshwick the other day, and that was just so lovely to be somewhere I hadn't been for a while and get some ideas. So Volume 2 is indeed on its way.
Right, you would beat me to it then, because there is a Volume 2. I thought with Volume 1 on the front cover, I thought, well, either it's great optimism, or you've got Volume 2 already in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And so in a way, it's like a sort of series of sort of vignettes of some of your favourite places around the island as you sort of move around the island?
Yes, very much so. It's done from quite a personal angle, so it's what the island means to me and how it encourages my way of life as well. It keeps my art going and my writing and puts me in a good positive mood.
And it's actually lovely. I mean, I was flipping through before you kindly dropped off a copy earlier on, and they are, as you say, their thoughts, and it's, as you can sort of see yourself just sitting there, seeing these visions, recording your sort of ideas, recording your thoughts in words, and indeed, again, as you say, in sketches and paintings as well of the areas you're at. And one that actually spoke to me was the Clips Reservoir one, because I spent a lot of time there as a boy, because I had an uncle that lived quite close by.
Lovely.
And again, it's just it's that sort of same sort of idea. There's a few lines there. A lone fisherman is casting his line. Dogs take their owners walking on the grassy pathway, circulating the lake. The water changes frequently with passing light and ripples of bird and fish activity. We enjoy a coffee from our small flask whilst perched quietly on the bank, admiring the calm vista. And I thought, yeah, I was there because
how lovely.
I've done exactly the same sort of thing. Wandered around there, lovely peaceful spot. I've taken a flask up there and just sat for half an hour and watched the birds and sort of, just soaked in the atmosphere.
That's
and
lovely.
It really brings it to heart.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you.
And great design on it as well. So it's beautifully done because it is designed exactly as you say. It's like designed as a notebook or something.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work closely with Canal Print, who actually produced the book for me, and they helped me to work out where the sketches go in relation to where I put the bits of sticky tape. So it makes it look like the sketches have actually been stuck in to the book. And I did actually, it's all handwritten, but I had to write it out again on my computer to spell check it, and then rewrite it again in my own handwriting, so it comes across as being as original as it can be.
And you mentioned at the beginning that in the footnote, the Isle of Man is the only entire island nation UNESCO biosphere.
Yes.
Is that something you're passionate about?
Oh yes, definitely. I keep in touch with what's going on in that area through Facebook and various other sites and Culture Vannin.
Have you got a favourite spot on the island? As you just looking through, because there's lots of places mentioned there, but is there somewhere that really? I mean, clearly you really enjoy being out in nature and being out in the island, in the countryside.
Yes.
Is there somewhere that really speaks to you?
Yes, the Calf of Man. I haven't been able to get there this year due to my arthritis, and so walking far is not very good at the moment for me. But I did see somebody's reel the other day of when they went round the Calf on a boat and had a short stop off there, and I thought, yeah, I could do that, because I stayed on the Calf of Man several times, and I actually wrote one of my books there, because I've written 3 about the island. One is called Action Man, and I actually went for a week and sat in the farmhouse and walked round writing the book. So it's my favourite.
And do you find you're very honest and open about the whole thing, and the dedication at the beginning? You say that the book's dedicated to my husband and 2 boys have lived through consequences of my addictive behaviour. I mean, it's a very honest and open sort of statement. That is it something which is a cathartic thing for you, doing the writing and doing the painting and the drawing?
Yes, it is. It keeps me focused on positive things. I mean, it's no secret that never kept it secret that I've got addictive behaviour, leaning really towards alcohol, and it's a case of all or nothing. So at the moment it's nothing. I don't drink at all, but when I do, I get into all sorts of trouble, and it isn't fair on the family, and it has nearly cost me my life. And I mentioned it in the book because I think sometimes these things can be swept under the carpet, and a lot of people have actually come back to me and said how much they appreciated that I had written about it, because they could identify with it, or they could identify with being in a dark place, even if it wasn't to do with alcohol, and how viewing the island and looking through the sketchbook inspires me and hopefully inspires other people.
Absolutely, I think you're absolutely right. It's a very brave thing to do, and a lot of people, like you say, just wouldn't have the sort of the balls to actually sort of do that and come out with it and just sort of say it realistically, because as you say, a lot of people suffer with alcoholism or depression and such like as well, and so so what do you feel you sort of get out of the writing? Is it just a way of sort of expressing your inner thoughts, just being able to put that out and put them there for other people to enjoy?
Yes. I think it would be a shame to have it all in my notebook and for nobody to actually see it. If it helps me and I enjoy it, it was a nice idea to share it. And ever since I could first pick up a coloured crayon, that was me. I'd be writing, sketching, drawing. It's just in my blood. I never thought about doing it for a living. It was just something I do.
And we should say, like I said, it's not all about the writing. There's some wonderful sketches and paintings as well, attached, as you say, in the same manner of the overall book, like it's in a notebook, like you were doing something and put in little sketches as you were going along. It's all beautifully done, some in black and white, some in full colour. It is gorgeous, I must admit. It's a real thing of beauty. It's really very nice and very easy. Very easy to dip into. You can just sort of open it and read a bit.
That's nice. It says on the back page, I think, my intention is that you can read any page in my sketchbook and find a nugget of the place I'm in, both physically and mentally. So it doesn't have any chapters or page numbers. It's, dip in.
Volume 2, when you're expecting Volume 2? I don't know, how long's Volume 1 been out, actually, come to think of it?
Only a few weeks, about a month.
Okay, so it's pretty new, and they're widely available on the island? How can people get hold of a copy?
Gosh, I wrote down on my Facebook page, Charlotte Jane Henry Artwork, all the places that it's available from, including the Manx Museum, House of Manannan, Celtic Gold, Studio 42, Port St Mary, Hodgson Loom Gallery, which also, both of those two are exhibiting my etchings as well. There's a lot of etchings in there, which I reproduced especially for the book, and I had an opening day at the Archibald Knox meeting room to actually present the book to the world. And
did that go well?
It was epic. I was so thrilled. Many people said to me afterwards, or actually came back and said that they liked the honesty in it. But also, my sons came over, Quentin and Cedric, and they did DJ sets for me. Cedric had called his Manx Sketches, and they did music that was specially designed to complement the show. And a lot of people came, and I would have been glad if one person came, but so many people came through the doors. I was delighted, made my day.
Do you want to read a little section of it just to finish up for us?
Yeah, okay.
A favourite piece or any piece you like?
Favourite piece. I will read, if I can find it. I mean, I wrote it, but I can't find it. I will read about Fenella Cave, which is actually called Eyeing the Exit. And there's an etching that goes with it. The sandy beach of colourful scallop shells at Fenella Cove joins St Patrick's Isle, castellated with ancient historic sandstone buildings, to Peel. At very low tide, we walk down the side of the isle and discover a cave carved by the sea. Its walls are dark and dank, patterned by turbulent tides. Inside, at the far end, the exit is just visible through lighter shades of rock at the entrance. I have canoed into crystal clear water of Manx sea caves and taught caving to the army in Yorkshire Dales. Yet, sometimes, my mind is in a deeply dark place. Given time, in this space, I remember to look for light, and with brave forward steps, I can find my way out.
It really is a little thing of beauty, beautifully produced with help from the Isle of Man Arts Council as a facsimile of her personal notebook, complete with text in her own writing style, as we heard, and pictures attached by apparent tape to the pages. Wonderful stuff, and a quick flip through its pages will reveal something that will resonate with everyone, I'm sure. Check it out.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
From sketches to dances. And it's not often we talk about dance in Spotlight. If you can help improve the balance, by the way, then do get in touch, spotlight@manxradio.com, and we'll try and rectify that. It's even less often we talk about Morris dancing, not least because we don't actually have a Morris side here, but there is a link. Stay tuned. If you're out and about over the next few days, keep your eyes open as Mersey Morris and Mock Beggar dance sides are doing a mini tour of the Isle of Man with help from the Isle of Man Arts Council. I caught up with Mersey Morris Squire David Clampin to find out more, and he told me the side have good links with Isle of Man dance groups.
Well, we have a long-standing association with the Manx folk dancers. So it's Mersey Morris, which are a Cotswold side, and ladies side called Mock Beggar. So I think the last time we were over there, Mock Beggar ladies were there in 2011. So I thought it was long overdue that we descended upon you again. So we're coming to rekindle those and bring Morris back, arguably, to the place where it all started, although that's a controversial point.
Well, we love a bit of controversy. I mean, over here, there's no shortage of what people might call folk dancing or country dancing. What is the essential difference between Morris dancing, which is a massive tradition still going strong in Britain, and country dancing or folk dancing?
Yeah, country or folk dancing traditionally will be set dances where you would dance with a partner. Morris dancing, English Morris dancing, is typically danced in a set of 6 or 8 individuals who don't have contact. They don't get into hold, and sort of often they're fighting dancers. Some of them have agrarian principles behind them, sort of working the land. So it's really people dancing separately in a formulaic way. So some of your listeners may be familiar with the sort of Playford tradition in dance, and there are some similarities there with some of the set dances that we do along those lines.
So you mentioned agrarian sort of links there. So is that the basis of sort of Morris dancing? It is like over here, there's all sorts of customs and traditions which hark back centuries, which often have links in sort of wishing for good crops and good harvests and good weather for forthcoming seasons, or fair seas and good fishing and such like. Is it those sort of links that the Morris dancing sort of goes back to?
Yeah, absolutely. Although, as is the way with this, it's an oral tradition, so trying to find the exact roots of it is very difficult. There were those that would suggest that the dance really came to this country with the Crusaders on their return. They were coming up through northern Spain and encountered the Moors, performing a type of dance there, which they then started mimicking and call it Moorish dancing. But typically would have found it performed in more rural areas. Yeah, and absolutely, it's tied to the seasons. Whether that's buying into the myth that it would actually create greater fertility in the soil and what have you, or the fact that typically out of season these agrarian workers didn't have any work, so they would go and extract money from the local populace via entertainment, or if that didn't work, via menace. And so that's why it's kind of connected to that seasonal, those seasonal elements. But certainly on the Isle of Man, there was a guy called Rodney Gallup, an excellent name. He published an article in 1934 who suggested that Morris dancing may well have originated on the Isle of Man.
Oh,
And these
goodness.
were earlier pagan battles between summer and winter, and the summer queens and the winter queens, which would have done battle around May Day on the Isle of Man. That piece by Gallup suggested this is the roots of Morris dancing.
Oh, goodness me, I didn't know there was a link there. I know, certainly, well, I've never been a Morris dance, so I have for years done the traditional dance on St. Stephen's Day, on Boxing Day over here, which is Hunt the Wren, which is, again, a sort of a dance which is very similar, I think, to sort of some Wiccan principles and some of the ones down in the southwest, where they're sort of again looking for crops, banishing bad spirits away from the land and from the harvests from the seas, and sort of wishing for good harvests next year. And that's something which has gone on and it's become again very, very popular again on the Isle of Man. And I know there are other dances that take place through the years, but I didn't realise that was the actual link, possibly through to the Morris tradition.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, this, as I say, that article is, as I say, is up for some debate, but this is, I mean, I think you can find the evidence of these sort of May Day battles, if you want to call them that, in various different settings, and it seems entirely feasible. But somewhere like the Isle of Man would have its own tradition of that, and as I say, Gallup thought he found it there, but. As things stand at the moment, you're bereft of any Morris dancing sides on the Isle of Man, and that's something that kind of died out in the 17th century. In England, the Puritans, notably Cromwell, wiped out Morris dancing or made efforts to. But you had a particularly overzealous spiritual legion church dignitary, a chap by the name of Bishop Wilson, who
Mm.
felt that if people are out Morris dancing, they ought to have been in church, and really took a hold and kind of eliminated Morris dancing on the Isle of Man at that point.
Oh, he's got a lot to answer for. Uh, what about just tell us
Yeah,
a bit more?
absolutely.
Tell us a bit more about Mersey Morris and Mock Beggar themselves. Then this is something of a regular side, something which do you tour regularly? Do you sort of go practice regularly around your own area and such like?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting with Mersey Morris, we were amalgamation of two sides that came about in the 1950s. But our founders were the Liverpool Morris men, which date from 1928, which is very early in this sort of revival side of Morris. Wirral Morris men were founded in 1953, but in the mid to late 50s, numbers were waning in 1958, and therefore they merged into Mersey Morris. And we've been dancing ever since. And we practiced throughout the winter every Monday evening, a 2 hour aerobic workout. And then, unsurprisingly, perhaps we're out at a pub every Monday evening, not of course to partake of the ale, but
Of
to
course, of
entertain the
course.
masses that are there. Mock Beggar are a ladies' side founded in 1991, and they dance in a tradition is more typical of the area they're actually geographically in. So Northwest Morris, which was would have emanated out of the cotton mills of the Lancashire towns, in particularly, where these workers would come out of the mills in their clogs, and often do processional dancing as part of a wakes week or other celebrations. Yeah, so the two sides will give you a combination of different styles of Morris. We dance in what's known as the Cotswold tradition, which I wonder that some of your listeners may be more familiar with bells and hankies. Whereas mock beggar ladies, you'll see them using some of the paraphernalia from the mills, bobbins and the like, to sort of animate and tell the story of their dance.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but there seems to have been a great resurgence. You mentioned there sort of a fading of interest in some of these traditions back in the sort of 50s and 60s, but certainly of late, it seems to me, looking at the sort of scene in the UK and certainly here on the Isle of Man, interests in sort of cultural background and a lot of these practices, whether it's over here sort of speaking Manx, Manx country dancing, some of the old sort of songs, speaking, all these sort of things seem to have had a massive resurgence of interest in recent years.
Yeah, well, it ebbs and flows, and if we want to get a bit technical about it, I think often in times of national crisis, if you like, people often return to traditions as sort of anchors, something that they can associate and attach themselves to. And I think we've seen that. But certainly over here, the big event was when Boss Morris danced at the Brit Awards. It's a great sensation. They dance they're very true to the tradition of Cotswold dancing, but their dress is very distinctive and their style of dancing is quite distinctive. But it's always been a living tradition that changes with time. So the more the merrier. And the day that it's sort of set in aspect will be the day, of course, that the dance dies out. But, you have to move with the time. We're unusual as a Cotswold side in as much as getting on for 30 active members with us, and indeed combining with Mockbeggar, we'll be a party of 35 coming over tomorrow afternoon. So yeah, we've got good numbers over here.
So terrific. So a little bit about your mini tour then. So as you say, arriving on the island Thursday afternoon, and then you'll be in action starting from Friday morning down in Castletown in the Market Square there.
In the Market Square, yeah, and then we're really thrilled to be doing a workshop at Victoria Road Primary School in the Friday afternoon for the pupils there. So that always creates a great deal of excitement. Then on Saturday we're off to Douglas, where we'll be dancing on the busking spot at the end of Regent Street in the morning. No trip to the Isle of Man wouldn't be complete without visiting the Laxey Wheel, of course. So we'll be taking off there. And then in the afternoon, we'll be at St Mark's Fair with your great local dance side, folk side, Perry Bain. So they're hosting us and Mockbeggar there. And then on Sunday, we round off our tour. In the morning, we're on the promenade in Peel. And then in the afternoon, we're delighted to be supporting Port Erin RNLI for their Lifeboat Day event. So we'll be dancing there. And throughout our time on the island, we will be collecting money for Port Erin RNLI.
Sounds great fun. Get out there over the weekend. See Mersey Morris and Mockbeggar in action somewhere. You might even be able to have a little dance yourself. Who knows? Now, as is often the case in this programme, you plan one thing, then something else comes along which is more time sensitive, and so you have to rejig everything. And so I was going to major far more on LitFest today, but with the Morris dancers coming our way over the weekend, clearly a timely must, and a certain birthday, stay tuned if you didn't hear before. We'll now talk more about LitFest next week, but I thought I'd better whet your appetite today anyway. So here's LitFest committee member Reiki Bennett.
It's all coming together really nicely, touch wood. I don't want to jinx anything, but the dates for our festival this year is always the last week in September. So this year it's from Tuesday the 24th until Sunday the 29th of September. And we have 11 authors and artists in total coming over to the island this year. So we're hoping that we're beginning to build the schedule and put together the events, and it's around about this time that we start getting really excited about it. You can sort of see the festival starting to take shape, and it's a very exciting time.
Is there sort of a team who actually put it all together?
Yes, indeed. We've got a team of I've completely blanked on how many people we've got, but we've got quite a small core team, and we all take on different roles. Helen Jessup is our director of the festival. We've got a committee and other directors, and we all chip in and work together. We've got people who do little bits and pieces. My specific area is I put together the Writers' Day, which is a day-long event for local and emerging art writers on the Saturday of the festival. So that's my area, and other people deal with different events. We have the Schools Day, which is we bring over as many visiting authors and illustrators as we can, and we send them out to as many schools as we can around the island so that they can chat to the kids there and everything. So we all work together like that, and we're also lucky enough to be partnered with Bridge Bookshop as well, so they're able to help us as well.
And venues, is it sort of spread around the island? Are we Douglas-centric? What are we talking about here when it comes to venues?
We try and get out around the island as much as we can. We understand that not everyone is in Douglas or able to get into Douglas, so we try and space them out as much as we can around the island. Sometimes it just happens that we do have them in one place or the other. But yes, we try and get around the island as much as we can.
Talk us through a few of the pieces coming up then. Any particular highlights from your point of view?
Things I'm very excited about. I'm really excited about loads of stuff. I'll touch briefly on, we've got a crime night, which is going to feature Martin Edwards, who's an absolute legend in crime writing. He's just done a non-fiction book called The Life of Crime, which is so in-depth and amazing. And also Caroline England, who writes psychological thrillers. Her book, The Stranger Beside Me, was one of my favourite books of recent times. She's absolutely brilliant. And they're going to be doing a crime night together, talking about their books and writing and all of that sort of thing. And we've also got, hopefully at the same event, we've got the Bookshop Band, who came over in 2018. They are a folk duo and they write and perform songs about books. They've got 13 studio albums, I think. And so, yeah, they're really fantastic. And when they last visited us, they were absolutely amazing. So we're very excited to be able to partner up with them and bring a bit of music, a bit of books, maybe a drink or two, all of that sort of thing. So that's one of the events I'm really excited about.
Much more next week from Reiki, but we couldn't finish this week without marking a notable birthday which took place yesterday, a journey which started with the production of a play called The Telephone Girl, as John Moss reported on Manx Radio News.
That was 124 years ago today, but we so nearly lost this architectural gem. In the 1970s, it was threatened with demolition until a group of enthusiasts came to its rescue. Foremost was Mervyn Stokes, general manager.
The theatre presented a challenge. It was beautiful, it was in a ruinous state, and something had to be done, because when I first came here, the owners of the theatre had applied to demolish it. Frank Matcham built in his lifetime, and we can't be sure because new evidence is coming alive all the time, approximately 300 theatres. Of those 300 theatres, only 24 remain. And of those 24, this is the only one with everything that Matcham left behind. Seamus and I, got to know Brian Matcham, who was Frank Matcham's great nephew. And he came over to visit us, and we brought him in here with the lights off, and we put the lights up and said, "What do you think?" And there was a horrible, horrible silence, and we thought, oh gosh, we've got it all wrong. And he turned around and he said, "Thank you. If my great uncle came in today, he would recognise everything. You've done it just right."
Amongst those who had admired the theatre was Andrew Lloyd Webber, who used a 2-hour break while flying across from Ireland to visit it. He was shown round by Seamus Shea.
I did ask him, had he any product that he would like to try out on the island pre-West End, and he sort of gave me a wry smile as if to say it's probably not big enough a venue for some of his shows.
Happy birthday to the Gaiety. That's about it for this week. Don't forget, if you want to hear anything again, go to manxradio.com, download the Spotlight podcast, listen where and when you want. Why not try it whilst out skiing with waterproof earbuds in? Why not? See you next week when we'll be hearing more about LitFest, checking out the RNLI exhibition at the House of Manana in Peel. Until then, look after yourselves and whatever you're doing, be creative about it.